Hi, my name's Tony Ridley and welcome to another Crisis Leadership and Management Education tutorial. In this segment we're talking about crisis communications, and the subset we're focusing on here is the publish and dissemination, both proactive and reactive publication and distribution campaigns. We've spoken on audience, identifying the tone requirement, the content and the demographics associated with audiences to ensure that the message and the medium and the timing is all appropriate. There's no point releasing a press release at midnight if your key demographic sits down for an evening meal around the 5 to 7 p.m. News cycle, or there's no point communicating in English if your affected demographic is a community group that listens to the radio. All those sorts of things need to be considered depending on the size, scale and spectrum in which the crisis is affecting or your communications is required for. Once the identification of an audience has been synthesized down to an effective message, medium and publication time, there's essentially two options when it comes to publication, and I'll cover both, even though many corporates are really only available to one. The first one is a defensive plan, which tends to be the far more common, particularly with larger organizations with so many rules, regulations, bureaucracy, challenges, constraints, paradigms, understandings, and just the difficult nature of getting things done of an original or unique process. And many will testify, and I've certainly seen it firsthand, is from a defensive perspective, most organizations, again, fail to encompass or embrace the marketing, publication, advertising elements when talking about crisis. Routinely, they've got posters, they've got social media, they've got websites, email marketing, digital marketing, and so on and so forth. But very few of those platforms are used or used effectively during a crisis or priority communication method. So first and foremost is creating content that's in varying platforms or varying channels. So video, images, articles, press releases, having different aesthetics, different design, different mediums, or all mediums at once. So someone may see it on a blog and they've seen it in a video, or they can read the blog and or look at the video, all those sorts of information, and even the publication of websites, with many organizations being extremely restricted or costly in terms of their publication. It's important to note that for adversarial elements, these barriers simply don't exist, with many free or low-cost options to publish all of these content quickly and effectively. Publication is therefore selective. It can be self-publishing or it can be through service providers. Self-publishing can be control of one's own website, one's Facebook page, one's own Twitter account, and providers can be aggregators, platforms, everything from book publishing, newspaper, television, radio, search engine optimization, keyword search, video marketing, so on and so forth. There's an increasing number of service providers in this space. But it's most importantly that there's a creation plan. There should be a creation plan that's mapped out in accordance with the timelines and communications synchronization with stakeholders. So again, if we're going to communicate with a degree of frequency in a particular chosen medium, then we should be broadcasting or have scheduled publication. It shouldn't be, it's taken us 5 days to create this press release, it's going out and there'll be no subsequent releases. It just does not work like that anymore. And this brings me to the last point, and that is canned versus real. Holding statements, pre-prepared videos, statements and releases really do have a finite shelf utilization. Broad spectrum elements that can be added to, or manageable content that helps generate more specific and relevant communications is great. However, something straight off the shelf that was designed and about some other topic and trying to panel beat or shoehorn that solution into the topic is detrimental, and certainly will not help with a defensive plan or an offensive plan either. So remembering it's got to be relevant, it's got to be fresh, it's got to be contextualized, or otherwise you're wasting your time. The other perspective and consideration is for an offensive communication plan. So getting ahead of the curve rather than waiting to be affected upon. This comes down to that paradigm of crisis management versus crisis leadership. It's getting to the punch first. It's getting out there. It's about being, not so much aggressive, but certainly going on the offense without being offensive. So the options available is specific isolation and targeting of keywords. So if it's product recall, it's kidnap, it's somebody's name, it's your brand, it's scandal, oil leak, it's and the list goes on, kidnap and ransom, whatever the case may be, you can target that keyword and make sure that your strategy and communication has approximately a 2 to 5% density in terms of how the message is communicated. What that means is for every 100 words, 2 or 5 should be on that topic. So when that information goes out, that is how it is categorized, that is how it's cataloged by the internet, and that is the associated neighborhood in which those articles and content will be found specific to that keyword. And in particular, when we're talking about the effective release, if you're not on the first page, then you don't exist. Very few individuals, less than 15% of people, will even bother to go past the first page of a search engine results, and preferably it's the 1 to 5 that get 60 to 80% of all of that traffic. So it's about being optimized for what essentially is a library system. It's being cataloged and categorized effectively, and this comes down to the keyword strategy. It's about releasing it in specific distribution channels, whether it be through the YouTubes, the Twitters, in a particular English, through a particular time and channel. Again, it's segmented audience. It's not broad spectrum blast marketing. It's targeted inbound aspects. And of course, test and adjust. And this is the emphasis that I've been talking about through this particular section, is testing and adjust and monitoring your own ability to effectively penetrate the markets or to be heard. You may need to change, you may need to modify, you may need to cumulatively need to break into this space. But it's very important that you understand the basic elements of mass communications on the internet, and it needs to be on topical, not abstract and singular in nature. And in particular, you can reverse engineer and make the hunter the hunted. So whatever is on the current first page, or what is currently getting all of the news and information, reverse engineer their success. How did they achieve it? Did they use video? Did they use a press release? Where is that information found? Can I publish a comment? Can I also put my own content? Can I speak to the editor? Can I get hold of the magazine? All of those aspects can also be utilized. Now, with the offensive plan, this is also applicable to internal communications. Put it where employees are going to get it. If there's a bulletin board or there's a mass communication system, put it where it's frequented and where it will be read, not some obscure back of the bathroom where infrequently individuals who use the bathroom once or twice or infrequently through the day will find it. Make sure that it's targeted. So once you've done all of this, put it into 10 formats. Put that one message into 10 articles, put it into 10 videos, put it into 10 press releases, put it into 10 images, put it into social media. It's about ensuring that, much like most businesses will have a fax number, a physical address, a mailing address, a phone number, an email, a website, it's about providing alternatives and appealing to particular demographics and options. And increasingly, it's a distributed and fragmented market, so therefore you need to publish and distribute in all of those markets as well. So when it comes down to, it's all good in theory, but where it always falls over 9 times out of 10 is the implementation. You need to have a game plan. What is it that you need to do? You've come up with a concept, you've identified your audience, you're prepared to go and launch. The very basic processes of speed publications and competing and dominating a particular niche can be broken down into a half a dozen basic principles. First of all, make a recording. Most people would prefer and will view a video before they'll read an article. Make a video, make a recording, whether it be from the spokesperson, the CEO, the affected individuals, have it transcribed, and then make variants. So you can edit a 3-minute video so it looks 6 different ways. You can have a 600-word article repositioned, re-edited so as it can be published several times. Then have a multi-channel release. So release it through video, article directories, blogs, press releases, directories, all the social media bookmarking channels as well, and then do it over and over and over again. Because remembering, essentially what you are now competing with is all of those other networks. So if 10 people are interested in commenting and publishing online, if you only publish once, you're already 10% effective than they are. So if those 10 people are going to another 10 people, you've got 100. You need to keep doing this over and over and over again as part of a mechanism, as part of a strategy and a game plan. And this is why when I initially said most corporations don't do this well, and that don't do it at all, and very few do it well at all, because they'll simply do a press release, they may make a video, or the logistics and the challenges of the time and the cost takes too long, and the crisis is already over before they're even able to mobilize. So ensure it is implemented. This is the key message of this subset, and this topic is to make sure that there is a frequency of distribution and publication. It simply doesn't culminate in one measly press release. And there's plenty of tools for this. There's automated systems, there's outsourced service providers, and you can distribute via Twitter, videos, blogs, news and websites with a click of a button, or through aggregated distribution channels, or through service providers that have existing networks. But it's important to remember, and certainly to note, that 90% of this cannot be set up on the spot. All of this information and approach needs to be pre-prepared, rehearsed, and done well in advance because of the technical nature, the experimentation, and the ever-changing landscape that is online. So ensure that it's adaptive enough to evolve to the set of circumstances as required, and utilize whatever medium and resources you either have the funds for or you have accessible. So that concludes this section on crisis communications. The objective of this was to touch upon the variations, the identification and analysis of key demographics and audiences, and to introduce a number of variables that most likely haven't been considered, or to reiterate which are priority or optional opportunities in the event of requiring to communicate during a crisis, internal and or external. For more information and more tutorials and videos on this subject, please visit the website at www.crisismanagement.tony-ridley.com. That's all for now. Thanks very much. Bye.